Little, yeah. Okay, I want to say right off the bat here, thank all of you for coming today. Thank all of you for staying, even though you're hot and tired. We're going to expedite this last part here, but don't go away because I think the ending is going to be a lot of fun. I also want to mention that this gentleman standing over here to my left in the plaid shirt is George Lakey, Echo Warrior, who's just written, his new book is How We Win. He has that book and it's for sale, and we'll sign them for you afterward if you're interested. So our first speaker right now is Dennis Kiley from A Climate to Thrive on Mount Desert Island. He's going to talk a little bit about his work and what A Climate to Thrive has been doing. It's one of the models that we have used to build this conference. Dennis.
Thank you very much. First off, many thanks to everybody who's made this day possible. I don't know about you, but I have felt so empowered and inspired about what has happened when we've all come together. So many thanks. So again, my name's Dennis Kiley. I live on Mount Desert Island. My work is with ecopsychology, but in particular, I'm one of the founders and current officer of A Climate to Thrive, which is an organization that is seeking to make MDI a pillar of sustainability. And in particular, we have the goal of making our island energy independent by 2030. And I am very proud to say that thus far we are making great progress. We've achieved local, regional, and even national attention, and we're much further ahead on the timeline than we ever thought. And I'm speaking here on behalf of the organization, and it's not that we're that special as it is that we are a product of what happens when love and commitment, sharing and learning come together, a willingness to be sweaty, not just in conferences, but in our homes, in our communities, to get our hands dirty, to come together with neighbors to work. And that is precisely the very same things that our organization are about, are the things that I have experienced and observed throughout the day today. Each one of you, the speakers, the attendees, everyone has exhibited this very type of care and passion and interest. And I invite you, as you go forth from here, to stay engaged, stay sweaty, stay dirty, and do your part. Do whatever you can. Start here, start now, ask questions, be willing to learn, but also don't be afraid to make mistakes, and just start where you can. That's what we've done, and we've identified things like alternative energy, weatherization, transportation, food systems, youth programs, and it all just starts from the kernel of caring and a belief in this planet and each other. And so I'd say don't just rest and be content with the energy that we have felt here today, but take it home, apply it, leverage it, and just feel the beauty grow in your heart. And then when we come back again and again for conferences like this, we're not only acknowledging what's wrong in the world, but we're also celebrating what's possible and what we're going to continue to do to make this world what we want. So thank you. I'm grateful to share this community with you, and let's join our hands and keep working together.
Thanks, Dennis. By the way, one thing I said early, the first thing this morning was all the organizers of this don't consider this, this a final event of any sort. This is just a beginning. We will be reorganizing in September to actually start a whole lot of action groups in this area. I hope all of you will be involved as we go forward. And speaking of that, we have Tom Adamo here from our Reversing Falls community. He was very involved in window dressers, but he was also one of the initial founders of the Greenhouse Project, and he's going to talk a little bit about that, which is had an enormous effect, and as I understand it, may be reborn. Tom Adamo.
Thank you. So the first thing I would like to say is that I hope all of our chrysalises become a caterpillar so that we may become a butterfly. The second thing I would like to say is I hope that our people in Washington, D.C. are sitting naked in the sun today those people who are naysayers need to become more aware. And I'm not trying to be negative, just encouraging. So the Greenhouse Project started as a result of a similar conference like today, but it was about sustainability. Tony Farrar came from that conference and said, I think Reversing Falls needs to do something about sustainable foods and food security. So we came up with the idea of the Greenhouse Project. And what we did was kind of, well, I like to say holy moly guacamole, because we facilitated the construction of 150 greenhouses in Washington and Hancock County, totally with volunteers. We built them at schools, we built them at Seacoast Mission, University of Maine at Machias, and they became a cornerstone in schools that we never anticipated. We got a phone call from one of the principals who said, when the children get together in the morning, we tell them if they cooperate in school, in class, they can work in the greenhouse. We no longer use detention. So it became an exercise in the children learning math, learning science, learning team building. Tony and I were just building greenhouses because we had fun doing it, and then all of a sudden it became what it became. So the Greenhouse Project is currently defunct. And what we did is we designed two greenhouses. Tony was an engineer, and then he was able to handle critiquing from his ideas. Closer, oh, sorry. Oh, thank you. Oh, well, I can hear myself too. So we designed a freestanding greenhouse and an attached greenhouse, attached to an existing wall on a home. And we found that they grew so well that one of the local schools at the end of November, before Thanksgiving break, harvested the last of their tomatoes, brought the tomatoes into the cafeteria, made salsa, and did a curriculum, a school-wide program on Latin America. And as the winter came, we discovered that they acted more like a refrigerator in that, so we could leaf cut hardy greens. We came up with a design to heat the soil and not the air. We actually did a bed, stone bed underneath the growing medium, and we pumped the air from the peak of the greenhouse down into the stones, which became a heat sink, and we were able to keep the soil temperature at 45 degrees all winter long. So this community, as creative it is, said, but we all have to be plugged into the grid, so what's next? So we got a small grant, and we developed a solar-powered soil heating system. A vacuum tube solar collector, PEX pipe in the soil with non-toxic antifreeze, so there's nothing being transmitted into the roots of the plants. A photovoltaic cell that runs a variably speed pump, and we filled the PEX pipe up with non-toxic antifreeze, and successfully, again, 45 degrees all winter long. So it's been a wonderful project, primarily because we built such community. We did this all with volunteers. I just want to say that it's a privilege to be living in this community with so many people who are committed to making all of our lives and each other's lives better. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. I'm going to tell a quick story, and then we're going to all sing together. A few weeks ago, before school ended, I was asked to do a little presentation about climate at the Bay School right here in Blue Hill. And it was to some middle school kids. And I came in with a bunch of the portraits like you're seeing, and sat with these kids, and the first thing I did was ask them to tell me what they already knew about what was going on in the climate. And they knew basically everything that you've heard in these workshops today, not necessarily in the same detail, but they knew about temperature, the temperature of the water rising, water acidification. They knew about glaciers melting. They knew about feedback loops. They knew about extinctions and plastics and the whole works, everything. You just went around, everybody knew something. And I said, well, that's all well and good. I said, but how do you feel? And the first girl said, terrified. And then we just went around the room and everybody said either scared or terrified. I asked if the school had been teaching to climate change, and they said no, which surprised me. But the thing was then, what I did was start telling stories about the people who are in these portraits who came from a similar place, were also terrified about something going on in the environment. And instead of hiding under the bed, became active in some way, and then actually changed something. At the very end of the class, after telling all these stories, I asked the kids again, I said, well, how do you feel now? And they said, inspired. You know, all that energy that had gone into fearfulness had been redirected to being, feeling engaged, feeling like they could actually make a change, feeling that they didn't have to be afraid, that they could change. That's one of the great things that could come out of today, is for all of us adults who are here to be telling young people stories about successful interactions, successful ways of dealing with problems, telling the stories of who the people were and what they did, and then what happened, and then what they can do. A lot of the portraits I had that day were of young people, like Kelsey Juliana of the Juliana versus United States suit, the Children's Trust suit. It makes a huge difference. We've got to be telling these stories to each other about how empowered we can be. Every one in this room now has enough information, both about, the science, the realities, and then the stories of interactions and ways of dealing. Having people know those stories, being able to do this work is what's going to make it survivable for all of us. Right now, we have the great honor of having George Youngland here, one of the great choral conductors. Lives right here he lives in Blue Hill, he lives in Boston. He was the choral conductor, music director of the Revels, and it's more than Boston, it's the International Revels for many years. And he's going to get us all singing together. We wanted to end this with some kind of communal activity where we're all taking part. So I want everybody to give it a shot, maybe move a little closer together so we can all sing together.
Great. Everybody stand up and get a little closer. Come on in. Small but hearty bunch will make a good sound here. Everybody, come on in. Come on down. And look, somebody's passing out a green sheet. You need that green sheet. Here it comes. This land is your land. Let's not do all the verses. You need the sheet music. You need the words. Here they come. Grab the words. This land is your land. Let's just do the first verse and the third verse and the sixth verse. 1, 3, and 6. You've been here a long time. Let's just sing them down and flip the page over and sing a little bit Bob Dylan on the other side. Here we go. This land is your land. Sing it out. Island from California. To the Gulf Stream waters, this land was made for you and me. Verse 1, as I was walking down in the highway, I saw a monkey and the Sunday. I saw below me that 3, verse 3. When the sun came shining and I was strolling and windmills waving and I was rolling and the storm was lifting, this land was made. Verse 6. Nobody living. Nobody living can ever stop me as I go walking that freedom highway. Nobody living can make me turn back. This land was made for you and me. This land was made. This land is my land from California to Rhode Island, from the forest to rolling waters. This land was made for you and me. I hear you out there. One of the things we can do, and we can all do it. It's one tool we all have. Here we go. Come gather around. You may not subscribe to all the meaning in this text, but it still feels good to sing together. You know the song? You know this one? Sing it. Come gather around, people, wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept it soon that you'll drench to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, and you better start swimming or you'll sink like a stone, for the times they are changing. Go, come writers and critics who prophesize with your pen, and keep your eyes wide, you won't come again. And don't speak too soon, for the wheel is in spin, and there's no telling who that is near. For the loser now will later to win, for the time they are changing. Sounds good out there. Come senators, congressmen, please leave the hall. Don't stand in the doorway or block up the hall, for he that gets hurt will he who has fall. The battle outside that is raging will soon shake your windows and rattle your walls, for the times they are changing. Come mothers and fathers throughout the land, and don't criticize what you can understand. Your sons and your daughters are on your command. Your old road is rapidly aging. Please get out of the door if you can lend a hand, for the times they are changing. The line that is drawn, the first that is past, the slow one now will later be past, as the present now will later be past, and the order is rapidly fading, and the worst one now will later be last, for the times they are a-changing. Nice, everybody. Nice singing out there. Keep on singing. Let's call it a day. Thanks very much.
Not completely.
All right.
That was great. You're all great singers. Please hand in your evaluations. They are on the last page of your information packet. We would. Oh, I've been told that, in case you didn't know, that number 1 means good. Number 10, not so good. So that's how you rate these things. Anyway, thanks so much, everybody. It was great to have it. We'll meet again soon.